Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Keeping Your Dog Healthy and Fit, Part B with Dr. John Waterhouse. We're breaking down all the essential information that you need to know about keeping your dog healthy, fit, and strong. And with that, we're back with Dr. John. He's a veterinarian in Colorado here. He's originally from Australia. He works with the dog and their health and, their fitness and dogs when they've injured themselves. And like he was talking about all this equipment that he has, which by the sound of it is state of the art. With that, Dr. John, let's talk about canine rehab on demand, because you were saying earlier is like if a dog, like your dog right now, you have all the equipment that you can go and you can actually, give them the ultrasound and all the special treatments. But a lot of people don't have that access, or it's going to cost them tons and tons of money. And I know that you have canine rehab on demand. Would you break that down a little bit for us?
So as I said before, when COVID hit, my students or the veterinarians and rehab professionals that follow me on my monthly webinar on the Canine Rehab Teaching Academy, and that's just a professional website for veterinarians and rehab professionals. We pivoted and I took all that education material and we made that available to the public on the top 14 orthopedic conditions. So we start off with arthritis series, then elbow dysplasia, hip dysplasia, amputation. God forbid, I hope you never have to need a post-surgical amputation program. But I built that in conjunction with Tripause, that's the leading amputation canine community out there. And then hopefully in the next 2 weeks, we'll have intervertebral disc disease, surgical and non-surgical, hip replacement, fetal head osteotomy, but we also released cranial cruciate ligament. So we're covering the big ticket items of orthopedic, and so this is the education portion, but also a rehab program to do at home with your pet over 12 weeks with all the videos and the written instructions. So if your pet had surgery, say for cranial cruciate ligament, a TPLO, you would then go and follow the post-surgical program, or if you don't want surgery, you follow the medical program. So they're there to give the client the access to the resources that they traditionally couldn't get access to while COVID was going on. So this gave them really a rehab for exercises and programs that they could do at home, and then also access to those equipment in our store that traditionally, like you can now, I'm talking to a laser company tomorrow to bring them on board, because they're going to be able to rent a laser for, I think it's around $100 a week. So you can laser your own pet at home every day instead of going to a vet clinic 2 to 3 times a week and paying $30 to $40 per session. And so you just rent it and then you ship it back to them. So trying to bring modalities, pieces of equipment that will help people to be able to do rehab and help their pets at home.
I didn't know about that part of it. We had Dr. Christina on here a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about this platform and how beautiful it was. And she's a veterinarian in Liverpool, if you don't know her. We were talking about this canine rehab on demand because she had just finished a surgery this, last few months with an animal, and the parent came and she had a sheet of information that she was going to hand them about exercise. And it was like so beautiful because the way Dr. John explained it, the way he programmed this is brilliant. Let's say your dog had a hip replacement. You would then go to the platform, Canine Rehab on Demand, put that in there, put your information in there, and then it will take you through the proper therapy at home, step by step, on how to do it yourself. But it also, what I love about it, because I had a disc replacement in my back this last year, and I was always trying to run ahead of the therapy, and the therapist is always like telling me, slow down, we're not there yet. But what he did is he did a fail-safe system, which I think was brilliant, is that you cannot go to the next step until you're really ready to go to the next step. So he builds in a time frame that you have to work on the first step, the second step, the third step, and then you get to have a successful rehab with your dog. Because I know personally from rehab is not doing it right. You have to start over sometimes, and you can actually re-injure yourself. So it's so important. So I love that feature, Dr. John. because what Dr. Christina was saying is that, they'll give them a piece of paper, they'll see 6 exercises and they'll pick one and they'll just go to that exercise without knowing that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so, which I think is just brilliant. And then Dr. Christina says that when their clients leave, they're so worried about their dog and what's going on with their dog after surgery that they don't even hear you half the time. She said they could be saying, yes, 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 all the way to the car. But she says half the time they don't even hear you. And all the time she gets a call saying, what am I supposed to do? So I love that your program has this phase workout built into it. Do you want to describe that a little bit more?
Yeah, so it's designed to work in conjunction with your veterinarian. If use that example, hip replacement, you'll be working with an orthopedic surgeon, but it's a program that's easy to follow. As you said, Michael, it's designed, it unlocks the next 2-week block every 2 weeks. So we have 2-week blocks, and that's so you can work on those exercises and move ahead. And the exercises are designed to build on the exercises from the 2-week module beforehand. But we know everyone's pet progresses differently, but the program is designed to cover 95% of how traditionally my patients would move through that program. A lot of people say, well, my patient didn't progress that quickly, or it progressed faster. And I say that's great. And not every patient will do that, but this program's designed for how I've seen 95% of my patients go through. And because we know, I've had physical therapy in human hospital before, and they give you this photocopied piece of paper or a photocopy of a photocopy. Plus, as you said, Michael, and Dr. Christina said this, when people are explaining things, I get cottage cheese in the brain. When you're worried about, okay, I hurt, I've just been told this, they're stretching me and I'm in pain. I'm not thinking about what's going on. And so a lot of my clients would come home or contact me and say, how do we do a sit to stand again? How do we do this? And so that was another reason I developed this program, was to give videos that they could watch again and again and have those resources. So as they leave the consultation room, or they're just doing it, they have a resource to keep going back that is good quality. It's not just a photocopy of a photocopy. It's actually videos with patients, my pets, other demonstration animals, showing how to do it. And the videos, the patients, some of them are naughty. I have to say my pets are naughty and playing around, and I leave that in the videos because this is what's going to be the reality in the home. Is they're not going to cooperate at the beginning. They don't understand how to do these exercises. And so we need that 2-week window to get them used to that exercise, get them familiar with it, get it so they're not fighting, because we never want them to fight. And then we can slowly build on and progress them through the 12-week period.
Dr. John, just the fact that you have this platform out there available for people to work with their dog, with their vet, and especially after surgery, I just think I fell in love with the platform already. And I love the fact also, if you're new in the room and you didn't hear this, is like what's so beautiful is like when somebody does purchase the package for their dog, they will actually donate a package to Hero Canine Groups. And I find that we do the same thing with our product. Is like we work with different rescues here in LA that we donate our product, No More Drama or Ouchie, so that we help them keep their dogs calm and out of pain. And so we reach out as much as possible. And I think that's really important. I think that's everybody here on Clubhouse that I see is everybody's such an incredible giver, and they're so passionate about what they do that they're always offering their services. So Dr. John, let's get back to the rehab on demand. The 12 weeks, once they're done with that 12 weeks, do you see that that's really the magic moment that they actually get through their rehab and they're ready to start going back and working out, let's say, getting fit, going for a run?
Depends what the orthopedic disease condition is, but we know the first 3 months is that critical period that we can minimize the chance of complications and maximize their chance of a full recovery. If we're talking about a surgical procedure, cranio-cruciate ligament, hip replacement, femoral head ostomy, for example, intervertebral disc disease, we know that they have that 3-month window. And if we can build muscle, we can keep movement, core strength, get them using those limbs or that affected limb, we increase the chance of getting them back to hopefully as full a recovery as we can get. And that's our whole goal, is to get our pets or our patients back to doing the things that they love to do before they got injured. And so these programs are designed to help minimize the chance of complication and maximize the chance for full recovery. But what happens after 12 weeks? Then you now have a bank of exercises that you can play with your pet, because you'll have, wow, if I'm thinking blah, blah, over 30 to 40 exercises then to play with your pet over the rest of their life, because you've been trained. It's like going to the gym. You go to the gym, you do your bench presses, your leg curls. You know how to do those exercises for the rest of their life, and as you need to do things, you can incorporate those in. So that's the benefit of the program, but it is only a starting block. It's designed there to help get you over that acute problem and help slow down the progression of chronic disease. Then we have the chronic disease programs, osteoarthritis, that then you can that incorporate some of those same exercises and other exercises and other pharmaceuticals and nutraceutical plans to help protect then the pet for the rest of their lives.
Is once the dog gets through the rehab and you're starting them back into their everyday program and all that, we're getting back to warm them up. You were talking about one time about different exercises that were really simple to help warm up your dog before you go outdoors. Can you break down those exercises that you were talking about for the people in the room?
Yes, so some of those exercises, we've got to think about active and passive stretching. So active stretching is where the pet is actually doing the exercise themselves. A sit to stand example is where you ask your pet to stand and then to sit, and then to stand and then sit. And that's the equivalent of a human squat. And that's warming up all their glutes, all their hamstrings, all their muscles in their hind limbs, their core strength in their chest, and actually their forelimbs as well. And it's one of my top, I call it a super exercise. And so that's an active stretch. A passive stretch, we mean the animal's not doing anything. And so that's where we're actually stretching. So think of extension and flexion exercise, where we're extending out their core and bringing in the back. Or, before we go through exercise, we will stretch our hamstrings. That is, for us, a active stretch, and these are where the terminologies get confused, because we're actually doing it to ourselves. But to our pets or our patients, we're mechanically overloading those muscles for them. They have no say in it. So that's why I call it a passive stretch. So if you're going to go for a run, walk the first few blocks with your pet, then trot the next few blocks, and then start running. Don't just run out that door and start running at your full pace, because you need to warm up and they need to warm up.
Warming up, I just never knew that that's such an important thing for our dogs. And just like you just said, let's talk about getting your dog fit. This last year, we've seen so many people with the pandemic, and they've adopted dogs, and we call them pandemic puppies. And this last year, they didn't really get a lot of exercise. And maybe if we look at the chart this last year, a lot of the dogs have gone from, maybe a 4 or 5 to maybe a 6, 7, 8 on the body condition chart. Where do we start? How do you recommend to your clients when you see that a dog's a little out of shape or a lot out of shape and needs some exercise? And where do you tell the dog parents to start with that?
I always tell, and that you made a great point. It's all about education, and I'm very cognitive when I'm talking to my clients about my patients that it's all about education. A little bit of something is better than a whole lot of nothing. And that they are here, they've taken the first step, they've come to see me. And I applaud them, because they're on the first step to building a better bond with their pet, because I call that a complication of what I do. My clients come in and say, John, if we knew the bond that we would have developed with our pet going through this course, oh my God, and we all cry over it, because we're building that pet companion or owner companion bond. I shouldn't say the word pet. And A little bit of something is a whole lot better than nothing. And so we start off slow. If they're overweight, I say, let's weigh every week. If they're a young dog or puppy, in my puppy program, we talk about weighing twice a week. Let's get a baseline and we weigh them every week. And people might say, I have a Great Dane. How do I weigh them? And I said, get a $10 set of digital scales. If you have and we all have scales at our house. And if we have a little dog that you can pick them up, weigh yourself, and then pick up your lovely pet companion, weigh them with you, and subtract your weight from their weight, and that's your pet's weight. Just weigh your pet, and that gives you a baseline of what your pet's weight's doing. Then we implement weight loss. If they're overweight, I say cut back the food. We want them to lose 10% of their body weight within a month. So just start cutting back on the amount of food that you're feeding. The big trick is people don't envisage treats with food. So if you're cutting back your pet's food, but at the dinner table you're giving them the pizza crust, you're giving them cheese, you're giving them all these things while you're eating, you're feeding your pet, that is what really is the culprit and what will put on weight. So I say, if you love feeding treats to your pet, take their food and feed that as the treat during the day. And because we want to then just see them losing weight. And when you measure their weight every week, you can see the weight starting to come off. And that is little steps all the time, because it's constantly reinforcing we're doing something incredible for our pet companion.
Yes, always baby steps. We're always talking about baby steps. John, I like that you shared. You go for a walk with your dog and they come back and you notice later that evening they're a little sore, minus 5 minutes from that walk. And just because you'll find that sweet spot. And I hear this from the trainers and I hear this from everybody in the rooms, is you really want to get to know your dog, who your dog is today, what they can do. And so by really finding that and fine tuning that time for your dog when you're going for a walk or when you're working out with them is really just benefiting them tenfold versus pushing them that extra 20 minutes or whatever, because it really damages their body. They can only withstand so much exercise as well. Us. With that, we have a question. Hello, Jessica. How are you today?
Good. How are you, Michael?
Good. Good to see you, Dr. John. If you don't know Jessica yet, this is Jessica. Jessica, this is Dr. John.
Hello.
Hi, Dr. John. So nice to meet you. And I just met Michael earlier this week, and I'm a behavior specialist, but I just saw this room pop up, and I can't tell you how excited I am because we're in week 4 now. My very special rescue dog, who's been my partner in crime for 10 years, collapsed 4 weeks ago with IVDD and lost all ability to use his legs, all 4 of them. And I had never experienced this before myself, and it was a busy household. And so I have been doing rehab with my 60-pound pit bull. He was like chasing frisbees the day before, so it was really alarming. And so hearing about your program I'm going, oh, okay, well, maybe this can help me. My question for you is, so his name is Poe, like Edgar Allan Poe, and Poe has recently, he's doing fantastic. So he can kind of stand up. He looks like a zombie when he walks, but he needs a little bit of support. Now, recently he started taking to when he has to go to the washroom, which is, for anyone who's dealt with this before, is pretty phenomenal that your dog is now like cueing he has to go and wanting to move away from the sleeping area to do that. And he's taken to doing this on his own. So now, like, I leave him we on the patio on a comfy bed. If I go inside for a moment, I've come back a few times and found him like in the other side of the yard doing his business, and then he'll zombie walk his way back to his bed. And I mean, it's very purposeful what he's doing, and he's so proud of himself that he's managed to travel. And I'm hearing sort of conflicting information about like, don't let your dog do that. And but at the same time, I'm going, he's a pretty proud guy and he's managing to kind of do it. Should I keep letting him? I opted not to do the surgery because of his age, and he has a slight murmur. So we decided not to go that route.
Now, first question. So people don't know, IVDD is invertible disc disease. So this is a slip disc or something that everyone's heard. Michael's has had a disc replacement. The first question is, did he have surgery? Okay, so therefore, for people, there are two ways we can treat invertible disc disease. One is a surgical option where we go in and we try and decompress the disc around the spinal cord, because all it is this, as we age and as our pets age, in between our vertebrae is, think of it as a jelly donut. And the jelly in the donut crystallizes as we age, and that can actually, through a trauma or just through aging or other types of issues going on, crystallize and then push through the donut baked bread and press it onto the spinal cord. So in relation to your question, should he be doing that or not? He will do it anyway, because he is, he's an independent thinker. You want to minimize the chance that he could fall over and hurt himself, but he also can self-regulate about, it's like we hurt our back, we know that we're not putting weight on our limb, we're very protective. Animals are the same. So that he's up and moving is good, because we need to keep the cord balanced. We need to build muscle, we need to build motion and have moving. Ideally, you would have him in some type of harness when he's moving on his own, or if he's on the grass or the backyard. The chances of him hurting himself are a lot less than if you're going up and down stairs and he's running around. Now that you're talking about the zombie walking, so we know that the spinal cord's being compressed, and by no means am I an orthopedic surgeon. So I work with a lot of orthopedic surgeons, but I want to say that from the outset. This is, as we're compressing the spinal cord, they lose function. And so that spinal walking is him regaining his function, trying to rebuild that myelination, regenerate those nerves. So he's moving. So it's actually very good that he's up and moving. And you said that was 4 weeks after the acute injury. So that's very good. But where our programs come in, we then talk to you about how to ice, how to help decompress in the non-surgical medical management, things and tips to be able to help with putting rugs on the floor so they don't slip. They're the big things. If he slips and falls downstairs or slips over onto hard surfaces, that's where they can do more damage.
Well, that's fantastic, and I can tell you this: I am not a patient woman. Dogs are probably the only place that I'm patient in my entire life. But watching this process has been really incredible. Like, I have so much respect for this guy. It was recommended that euthanasia was probably the best option. At the night that this happened, and I saw my dog, and I thought, well, he's just my dog with no legs, so I have to do something. I have to try. And it's been, from syringe feeding and just trying to get the calories in, and then all of a sudden to be at the point where he's recognizing he has to go to the washroom and he's moving himself. Yeah. Has like that journey of small baby steps. I'm very optimistic that he'll regain at least enough function to have a quality of life, and that's kind of what I'm looking for.
It's all about quality of life, and we gauge everything we do about quality of life. And so, but they're also they're intelligent beings. And you can see, the reason I do rehab is because when I was courting my wife, she had, at veterinary school in Australia, she had a beautiful Belgian Malinois called Tova that developed degenerative myelopathy. And that's a neurological disease that affects the spinal cord. And as her hind limbs stopped functioning, you could see the confusion, but also the distress and the embarrassment when they had mistakes and they would urinate or defecate because they know it's not right. And so they also show frustration and because they're independently thinking creatures. And so by allowing them to do little baby steps where they can actually move to the other side of the yard, defecate or urinate and come back, the joy that you see in their eyes, we see this in the underwater treadmill. That would be something to look into. Could be really beneficial now that he's up and moving to help coordinate in a fluid environment where there's buoyancy, he's protected, and we can now start remyelinating him walking and building muscle and strength and confidence. And you see the joy on their face when they do that exercise.
Yeah, it's truly been incredible. He reprimands the other dogs still from his lying down position, which I think is hilarious because he tends to take that role in the house, like letting us know that the coonhound is sniffing the garbage. And I've allowed him to keep that job. I got you, Poe. I hear you. Because they still need to have a monicum of some sort of like purpose, right? Even though he's completely, stuck in one position. So I really appreciate hearing you speak today. And I'm in Canada, so it's only warm right now for a little while. We're in summer, but I was thinking of even getting like a little like a 4-foot pool that I could wade around in him with for the summertime in my yard because it's something that I think would be really beneficial.
Yes, and that's all that water walking, and that is great. If you have a stream, we would take Tova to the beach, in Harbour Beach where there were no waves, and we would have one person in a kayak and one person on the shore and would walk between the kayak up and down the beach in that water to help. Go have a look at the website caninerehabondemand.com and have a look at our store. My store is probably the most comprehensive store anywhere with harnesses, grip equipment, other modalities. Most of those I don't get affiliate fees or anything from, but these are companies that I've dealt with for the last decade. They have their hearts in the right spot, and that may give you a lot of information of things that you can do, especially in Canada if you don't have access to services that could help you.
Oh, I truly appreciate it. I will check it out. I've already bought several pieces of equipment that aren't going to be necessary. I bought a quad cart from the States that cost me over 1,000 Canadian dollars to get it here, and of course, it's like he hates it, and it's, I'm not going to use it. So, I think I will definitely take a look at your site. I super appreciate hearing you speak today. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Sorry to hear about your little guy. That sounds like he's pretty determined in living a happy life. So, and you're giving everything that you can for him. So I really honor that. So thank you for coming up. Wow, Dr. John, we've talked about a lot today, all about keeping your dog healthy and fit. Thank you for being here, Dr. John. And thank you to you for listening today to our podcast, Keeping Your Dog Healthy and Fit. I'm Michael, your host. Thank you for joining the journey today. Before you leave, be sure to hit the like button. If you like what you heard today, subscribe to listen to more episodes all about pets.